Okay, we are starting in some seconds, so I will kindly ask you all to mute your microphones and also switch off the cameras if possible. Yeah, I think that we can start. Hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today in this first info session in which we will introduce i4Trust. i4Trust is a collaborative initiative by the Fiber Foundation, iShare Foundation, and Funding Box Accelerator with the support of the European Commission. And the project focuses on the creation of smart services, boosting effective and trusted data sharing and facilitating innovation through the creation of data spaces. In a couple of minutes, we will explain to you all how to join this initiative. Okay, thank you for joining today. Okay, so thank you. And now, just to a quick overview on the agenda for today. We will have Juanjo Hierro from the Fiber Foundation, Chief Technology Officer from the Fiber Foundation, and also Rajiv Rahani, and I think that also Gerard from iShare Foundation. They will explain us. They will do an introduction on i4Trust and how to join the program. So I think that I will give now the stage or the floor to Juanjo Hierro. Are you ready for presenting?
Yes.
Juanjo, you want to share your screen?
Thank you very much. So I will be sharing my screen now. So thank you, Angeles, for the nice introduction. And during this presentation, I will try, together with Gerard van der Hoven, the Executive Director of iShare Foundation, to try to give you an introduction about what is i4Trust, what were the goals of the project, and how digital innovation hubs like yours can really engage with these great initiative. Well, data-driven innovation has become a key driver of growth and jobs that can significantly boost competitiveness in the global market. We need a global digital single market where data can flow globally and across sectors, where data can be exchanged effectively, and the rules for access and use of data are fair, practical, and clear, and privacy and data protection, as well as competition law, are fully respected. In this respect, data sharing among industries is emerging as a precondition for the sustainable development of a data economy. And if we want organizations, and particularly SMEs, to participate in this data economy, we need frameworks that boost how data can be shared, allowing to benefit from new cross-domain data value chains, creating smart solutions, and helping those companies to scale their business. Actually, the European Commission, as you know, is not ignoring this fact. And actually, in February 2020, they announced within the European strategy for data, the goal of creating a single market for data to be shared and exchanged across sectors efficiently and securely within the European Union. And the centerpiece of the European data strategy was the concept of data space. With this kind of a background in mind, what is the mission and vision of i4Trust? Well, our mission, because that is the ultimate goal, is boosting the development of innovative services by companies, particularly SMEs, around creation of data value chains in multiple sectors. How are we going to achieve this? By means of bringing a framework of mature technology around which we will help to build a sustainable ecosystem supported by a vibrant community where companies will have all the means, all the support for creating the kind of data spaces that is envisioned in this strategy for data. Thank you. So this slide is trying to summarize what are the building blocks for creating data spaces. A lot has been said about how to create data spaces. What could be the kind of different building blocks? And within i4Trust, we have arrived with a quite comprehensive vision of what are the necessary building blocks for creating data spaces. Such building blocks can be structured in four major pillars. On one side, building blocks that are going to support effective interoperability between the participants of the data spaces. Second pillar, how to ensure that any kind of data exchange in those data spaces will be secure and the different participants will be able to exercise sovereignty on their data. Third pillar, how be able to, by merging the data, be able to create value and among other things, be able to monetize data, establish how to publish data resources with the necessary terms and conditions. And last but not least, as a fourth pillar, how we may govern all those data spaces, because it's not just about technology. What you need to bring also, you need to bring some agreements, legal agreements about how to run business models, how to operate, and be able to secure that certain regulations are observed, and also what can be the kind of organizational approach and governance that might guide how the different building blocks could evolve and the relationships between the parties can be governed. This is a bit the abstract definition of the different building blocks. What we bring in i4Trust, if we go to the next slide, is about we are bringing in all these pillars technology that works. And that is what is really genuine in i4Trust. We bring together technology coming from two players, Fireware Foundation, iShare Foundation, technology that is mature, that has proven already in the market. Fireware has been used in quite many smart solutions out there, breaking information silos within organizations, and now bringing the necessary support for the data exchange among organizations. I share with quite impressive track record in the domain of logistics, how to create secure data spaces where participants can really develop quite innovative services. Next slide. I mentioned technology that works, but also very important, all to be open source. We really create and believe on open standards, but open standards that are supported by open source components. This will be lowering the barriers for adoption by SMEs, and will for sure avoid locking, which is a quite fundamental aspect in that is needed to be preserved in data spaces. And here we are illustrating a bit the major standards also we, with the FIWARE and iShare combination, are going to support in the sort of i4Trust data spaces to be created. When we talk about data interoperability, we are talking about consolidated standards like JSON, JSON-LD for representation of data. We are going to elaborate further what are the kind of models we are defining. We come in within this i4Trust kind of data spaces with a clear standard how to exchange data among organizations based on NGSI LD, the well-reputed standard API for data exchange across smart solutions. In the area of security, that is quite important. We bring together quite consolidated and mature standards, but integrate them for the sake of use in the data spaces. We are talking about standards like OpenID Connect, like OAuth 2, like XACML frameworks, and compatible with standards adopted at European level, like EIDAS. Regarding data value creation, where we envision the creation of data marketplaces for publishing and monetizing data. We talk about standards like DCAT for describing the kind of resources a given party is exporting, or TM4 and open APIs, which are the basis of what we bring for enabling monetization of data and creation of offering around data resources. Next slide, please. So let's now elaborate a bit on all these pillars, going more into detail to understand better what is i4Trust, and let's start with what is referring to the way we propose in i4Trust that data should be exchanged, how data should be exchanged. In a sense, i4Trust will bring a data space for helping smart applications to interact with each other. A fundamental principle when we talk about interoperability is that of having all participants to speak the same language. And that means creating the same kind of sentences and talking about the same things. That is what a language means. And in i4Trust, that this is not different. What we are talking about is about digital twins representing the world. That is what the different organizations participating in the data space will be exchanging about. And the way, the kind of sentences they will exchange when interacting will be constructed with a common API that is going to be NGSILD, the standard we were referring to. And of course, in that interaction, aspects about who you are, how I can trust that you are who you claim, and so on, is also quite relevant, because it's even part of what is this language we are talking about. So i4Trust focuses on exchange between smart applications, which speak about context digital twin data. This digital twin is a digital representation of real world assets each of organizations are dealing with, and the kind of let's say, messages they interact about is about the attributes of those digital twins, the state of the view of the world that each of these organizations own. So that is what will allow us to have a smart city, for instance, talking with a smart building or a smart port within the context of a data space, a given data space developed with i4Trust. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is a bit going further on the vision about the API and GSI. Those who know already FiWare really know about this API because it's at the core of any architecture based on FiWare. The adoption of this API doesn't mean that participants in data spaces have to have adopted or created a smart solution based on FiWare. They might be based on different architectures, but the way they will interface with other systems and what will they be interacting about will be expressed through these APIs, which will become the common API to be used by the different organizations in the exchange of data within a given data space. So therefore, when we are talking with a city or about a city within a data space, will be talking about entities like the shops, the citizens, the buses, the incidents that citizens may have created, each of them with attributes, and attributes will typically change over time quite dynamically. And the kind of data spaces we want to support are indeed being able to support the exchange of near real-time data with other participants. If we move to next slide, and this is a common approach that works for cities but can work for other sectors. If we move to other slides, like it could be agri-food. If we move next, we could talk about energy. The entities, of course, might have different attributes, different properties, but the whole approach and model to be used is common. And this is very essential when creating data spaces, because it will be what will boost the creation of services by means of merging data that different organizations, perhaps coming from different domains, can share with others. If we move to next, the second point that we will be bringing within i4Trust space will be data models that will be defined as common vocabularies for the organizations participating into a data space. Here, we will be leveraging on a quite outstanding initiative that we launched and is really growing in momentum nowadays, which is the Smart Data Models Initiative. There is that link on GitHub you can visit. And what is this initiative? It's an initiative where we are defining data models based on standards, but also based on contributions from the community that is available on JSON-LD format, compatible with the NGSI-LD API. And that means that all together, these vocabularies we are defining together, combined with the API, the standard API that is going to be adopted within the i4Trust data space, we will ensure the proper and effective exchange of data. Moving next. These were so far the aspects related with the interoperability. Now I will leave the floor to Gerard or Rajiv from iShare, who will elaborate a bit on those pieces that have to do with security and sovereignty on data and trust.
Thank you very much, Juanjo. I think we moved one slide too far. Slide 14. Just have a regular intro on. Thank you very much. So indeed, talking about the building blocks that are required for trusted data sharing, the elements that Juanjo introduced are super crucial to speak the same language and communicate with each other in an understandable way. Where iShare comes around the corner is the element of trust, because especially in these days where the use of data and the ownership of data is crucial for basically your entire company, you as a consumer, data sovereignty is a key thing to be willing to collaborate. We've seen that with iShare in the logistics space, and developed iShare specifically for for governing what is happening with your data, who you share your information with, in a standardized way based on open standards, in a structured manner. So with iShare, we provide the access to identification, so who is the company or the actor that you're sharing your information with, the authentication of that user, and the authorization. So what is that user or that company allowed to do with the information? And we do that on a few levels. First of all, on the interaction level, where there's the iShare standard defines how machine-to-machine communication is set up, and how information and validation of authorizations are collected, both for machine-to-machine, but also for human-to-machine, where the use of iShare identities simplify how you get access to applications by the use of the single sign-on structure with the use of iShare. Then the authorizations, so simplify how you share authorizations to your existing data. And usually, in technology, we're usually used to do that in a role-based manner. But with data sharing, it's really about the details. So in iShare, we really define policies based on attributes. So you can actually share a specific field. I usually use the example of trucks, where you want to share specifically the brand of your tires and nothing else. So that is possible with the use of the detailed policies within the iShare structure. Then portable identities. We're not redefining identities. We utilize existing identity players that fall under the same structure. And then finally, that enabling with allowing delegations, and the ultimate goal is to have data sovereignty, where you as a data owner stay in control what's happening with your data, which is especially important when it comes to businesses with a longer value chain, like in industry, like in agriculture, like in logistics, because you can't usually work on exactly the same structure or the same application. You want to have a standard that is governing that on a longer value chain. So if you go to the next slide. Thank you. So iShare is based on an existing open and federated network of actors. So iShare certified identity providers and authorization registries basically govern the access to data, where data owners actually control, by the use of those services, the access of their data. Even if a data owner is having data on an existing platform or in an existing application, they can manage who can access that information and really safeguard their data in that way. And on that basis, there's a lot already available. So iShare is, of course, an open standard, and there's source code available on GitHub. But there are also existing identities, over 45,000 identities at the moment. There are existing authorization registry services, and there are already iShare data providers or data hubs that provide data for over 5,000 companies. And that's a great base for pilot projects and use cases, also on i4Trust. If we go to the next slide, please, because that's been the part of the technology side. But the other aspect that iShare brings in, which we saw on the right side of the picture that Juanjo earlier shared, is the governance side. So next to having technology to govern how data is actually used, iShare brings in the legal framework. So within that legal framework, we have specific agreements that govern basically every transaction in the network of trust, where you basically agree to use the data according to the license that you got into in the policy. And by acting under the same agreement, the same legal framework, we basically create that real network of trust where everybody works together, even if we're not working in the same chain in the same environment. Next to the legal side and basically the data usage, it's also the operational side. So the trustworthiness of the actual data source. Is the data exactly in line with what you expect? That's something you also need to govern and monitor and agree. So that's the third part that iShare brings into the i4Trust project and as components for all the projects that will be started under i4Trust, bringing in the trust element, so data sovereignty and the legal governance of the data sharing. Back to you, Juanjo.
Thank you, Gerard. If you move to the next slide, we end up with the last pillar from what it means technology framework, explaining you that i4Trust is also bringing components that will allow parties in the data space to share their data, publish the data resources they offer, and also publish offerings around those data resources, offerings that typically bring the description of the terms and conditions for using those data resources, which might include pricing, among other things, but also being compatible of making those data resources accessible through standard publication platforms that align with DCAT standards, like it could be the typical data publication platforms based on technologies like CCAN or others. We move to next. So this is all how essentially very high level, of course, a data space may look like, where we will bring different organizations that wish to share data, and based on that sharing of data, create value. All of them exchanging data through NGS-ILD. That would mean that they will instantiate a context broker component within their organization, where there will be a global marketplace service, and also a number of services that allow us to ensure trustworthiness in this exchange, like identity providers or an iShare satellite, bringing trust on the parties, authorization registries, etc. Going next. Next, please, Angeles. Yes, okay. What is also very important to bring to you as a message is that all this framework of technologies we are bringing together is really compatible and aligned with the Connecting Europe facility building blocks that are recommended by the European Commission as basis for creating digital service infrastructures that support digital services. If you are not familiar with the Connecting Europe Facility program, we encourage you to visit, because what we are bringing here in i4Trust is really aligned with that vision. It could not be in any other way. If we are going to create technology for data spaces across Europe, that has to be consistent with such a big program pushed by the European Commission. The context broker technology from Fiverr is actually adopted as one of these building blocks. The identity provider services in i4Trust are compatible with the EID building block provided by the Connecting Europe facility, and soon along the duration of the project, we will also bring compatibility with the European blockchain service infrastructure, because that could be a good basis for bringing security and traceability about transactions that are taking place on the data space. Moving next. That was all regarding technology, but what we are also bringing with i4Trust, and that is very important, is a vibrant community around, and a community that will be made up of not only the partners that are involved in i4Trust, like Fireware and iShared, and together with us, Funding Box, bringing support to the creation of a community, but the digital innovation hubs. Digital innovation hubs are going to be cornerstone in the creation of the community, because we want to rely on you to really bring all this technology, this ability to create data space to local SMEs within your regions, and we, in that sense, expect that you will work as first ambassadors of the program. Let's move next to the a second part of the presentation that has to do with what will what we need from DIH and how DIH can join the program. So if we move next slide. This gives you an overview about what we are planning this year. i4Trust is about materializing data spaces already this year and having first experiments working with the technology. And the first thing we intend to do is to start creating the community with the participation of digital innovation hubs. First milestone, how all has been kicked off, is by today and this info day. There will be additional info days coming in, but this was the very first start of all this process. And digital innovation hubs that are willing to be part of this adventure are encouraged to fill the digital innovation application form for i4Trust that is available on the website. They will, in parallel, also need to appoint an i4Trust local expert. That should be a person within your organization that is going to be trained and will later on be able to bring the necessary support to the SMEs that will be joining the ecosystem. And for this period of registering your expression of interest to participate in i4Trust, you will have until April 1st. Why April 1st? Because that is the point in time at which we will start the i4Trust training. The i4Trust training will take place along the month of April. It will be a combination of online training and also exercise we will be running with the necessary support from technical experts on the technology, Fireware and iShared technologies. And then after this period of training, the different local experts you have been appointed will run an examination based on which we will assess the how they have learned about using the technologies, and based on this exam we will provide a certificate on the expertise to use i4Trust technologies. After this training, this will match exactly the point at which we plan to launch the first open call. And the first open call will be running until we do not have yet defined the very final date for closing, but it will close during the third quarter of this year, probably between August and September. But as we said, we will define this and will be published when we launch the open call. And then after that, you know this very well, there will be a selection process. During all this time during which the open call will be open, you will be acting as ambassadors for i4Trust and scouting experiments. There will be for sure SMEs that will be contacting you because they might be willing to apply. The open call is open for consortiums that will be made up of a digital innovation hub plus a number of SMEs that will be bringing as an experiment a response to a given challenge with the support of the given digital innovation hub, and funding will be awarded to all these consortiums up to 120,000 euros of funding. If we move next very quickly, more details about what I have just explained. Some people are asking already what is the kind of technical profile I need to search for if I want to appoint a local expert on data spaces within the Digital Innovation Hub. Well, we really are lowering the barriers here because there will be this training I was mentioning. What we really need is people that is used and has good experience as architect, developer of applications based on usage of REST and JSON. So very common nowadays. So any web developer really own this expertise. It will be quite good that they also own, basic know-how on how to build cloud-based solutions, even those using technologies like Docker or Kubernetes will be very typical. But this is very standard nowadays in the market, so we are very confident that there are already a lot of experts within your organization that are meeting these requirements. Of course, rather strong plus because there are quite relevant aspects regarding modeling, expertise on data modeling, also strong expertise on security standards is really a strong plus. All the standards about security I mentioned before. JSON LD, JSON is technologies that also mean a strong plus. And well, it would be very nice to have a good understanding of other technologies that are going to be very much used when architecting the kind of solutions that will be exchanging data within the data space. If we move next. Yes, the training, I think we already explained. Very important at the end of this training, we will run an exam. And good news is that this is not going to be just useful for i4Trust. The person who passed successfully this exam will become a FIWARE certified expert. We encourage DIH to really apply now, so they are ready during April to receive this training. But this doesn't mean that DIH might be joining afterwards. The only problem in that sense is that then they will have to run a self-training based on material we will make available online, and that's the reason. And they will have to, of course, to pass this exam. So better join now. Next. I think it's important to comment that as a side benefit for digital innovation hubs that join this program is that since this local expert of the DIH will get certified as a FIWARE expert, this automatically brings you a number of benefits, like the ability to join the network of fiber iHubs and be able to validate products listed in the fiber marketplace. And well, by joining this network, you will be able to benefit, to enjoy a lot of benefits that you can take a look if you visit and observe the Fiber iHub brochure. In addition, those DIHs that are trained during the program will be trained as a side effect in iShare technologies, and that means they will also be eligible to become iShare implementation partners. So the benefit is not just in getting on board on a program that will later on have a number of open calls and bring the opportunity to raise funding, is that there will be this ability to get these certifications, which will be useful even beyond the project. Next. Yeah, last word about the challenges to be tackled in the open call. We do not want to have a closed set of challenges. We want to really spark the imagination of potential applicants. So any kind of experiment solving a concrete challenge will be suitable. What of course we want is that they describe the real life problem they will solve through data sharing, and they will have to elaborate on the expected impact from a business and societal perspective, and they will be scored through a number of criteria that we will be defining during these coming months, and will be made disclosed in the open call. The DIHs that join the community, we will advertise them in front of potential applicants to the open call. We will list those digital innovation hubs who have engaged in the community and therefore are able to provide local experts giving support to the SMEs. And we will advertise on our website those digital innovation hubs, and also giving them the ability to announce what are the concrete domains on which and concrete challenges on which they might be interested to bring support to. Next. That is the last slide with which I would like to close and then have a short time for some questions. Why joining i4Trust? Well, level of maturity of iShare and fiber building blocks is differential aspect. Many people out there are talking about data spaces, vision around data spaces, but how to materialize this today? This is something we will see with i4Trust technologies that are already ready, mature, and market-proofed. With this engaging with the i4Trust ecosystem, you will also be connecting with these two large ecosystems coming from iShare and fiber. We are aligned with the strategic vision of the European Commission defined through the Connecting Europe Facility program, and that is, I think, cornerstone for the sustainability of the whole vision. And by means of joining here, you will not only have the ability and the opportunity to join a community where we will be sharing knowledge and best practice around data sharing, but also you will be able to engage in these ecosystems that have been built around fiber and iShare. So all in Zoom will place you as a front runner on this data space market. I think that's all, and now we can leave the floor for some questions. So perhaps for the questions, we can take a look at the chat, right?
Yeah,
we collected some
Okay.
Wanko,
Yes.
and yes, we have one for Bernard Distas. So I can say that the questions you have, but you can also ask directly. So don't be shy. By the way, Bernard asked, do you have a plan with Gaia X?
Mm-hmm. Well, Gaia X, you know, is an initiative which was launched last year and is now turning into an initiative that will be very much focused on data spaces. And we are in conversations with relevant stakeholders within the Gaia X initiative, because I think there is a common understanding that there is a lot coming from fireware technologies and iShare technologies that can be reused in such an initiative. But of course, this is very early stage of discussion. We invite you to read a book that we will publish soon around data spaces and Gaia X, and there will be a chapter elaborating on how fireware technologies are contributing to the materialization of data spaces. And well, if you can imagine that if we have been invited to write one of the chapters of that book is for something. But we still cannot disclose results of such conversations.
Okay, so there is another one related DIH. What exactly is a DIH, and do you need to be part of one to apply as local expert?
Okay, digital innovation hubs. There is, as you probably know, the definition of the Commission within the initiative, the S3 initiative. And of course, those digital innovation hubs that are listed in the catalog of DIH from the European Commission are by definition DIH that would qualify for i4Trust. We are still defining together with the Commission whether we can have a more flexible definition of DIH, because we would like to be more inclusive. The concrete requirements to be eligible as a digital innovation hub within the open calls will be published in the open call. But if you consider yourself a digital innovation hub, please apply through the application form that we are provided, and bring the information about the activities you are running, and that will be enough.
Okay, so there is another one more technical. Is the i4Trust platform already v3c solid compliant? If not yet, are you planning to implement it?
Sorry, I didn't understand. To implement what?
It is a platform already v3c solid compliant. Something that.
This technology is a technology we are analyzing, but at the moment, this is just part of and the analysis is not included in the current i4Trust framework that will be made available 1st of April.
But the principles are in line with what Solid aims, but then for consumers. And we've been focusing on merely the industrial space. So I would love to elaborate at a later stage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there is another one. How do you see the relation between i4Trust and ISDA?
Perhaps, Gerard, you want to elaborate, for instance, on the collaboration between iShare and IDSA, and I can elaborate later with FIWARE.
Yep. And so there's a close collaboration between iShare and IDSA, where IDS architecture is focusing on the use case itself. We govern basically the identity and authorizations of that data in a larger chain, and we have an agreement I just shared with the public in the chat, that basically iShare is the baseline, so IDS 1 level, really a first step in starting to use IDS. And there's, well, like I said, there's a close collaboration, so also good to support more.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I think is important and relevant to highlight is IDSA is mostly about producing specifications, and those specifications are then delivered to the market by different organizations that implement products according to those specifications. And FIWARE and IDSA have had a long relationship where we intend to also help that some of these specifications become tangible components that could be included as part of the FIWARE catalog. And in that respect, the i4Trust framework will evolve, as Gerard has mentioned, and we envision that certain elements of the architecture could evolve to also incorporate elements of IDSA in compliance with IDS's specification. But also we believe that it will be the other way around. We will be creating and showcasing how some of the components we bring can accelerate the definition of IDSA specification in certain topics, like it could be the all that has to do with marketplaces, with definition of discovery services, brokering services, settlement, and so on.
Okay, there are others questions, but I also encourage the attendees to participate on 25. So where we have, of course, other space for answers. And yes, now we have other questions. So how can we create a DIH? Will it make sense to create a DIH dedicated to generated from space?
Well, there are many different kinds of digital innovation hubs. Typically, a digital innovation hub is entitled to and is aiming at somehow have a physical presence in a region and develop a number of activities and services that are targeted to support the digital transformation of SMEs and mid-caps in the region. Also, they are typically, as a mission, helping companies in their digital transformation. So these are the two major elements of any digital innovation hub. And then there are many kinds of digital innovation hubs. Some of them are very, let's say, cross-domain and focus on many different kinds of technologies, but there are others, on the other hand, that are either very focused on a concrete domain, like it could be smart cities or smart agri-food or smart manufacturing, or there are also digital innovation hubs that are very focused on a given technology, like it could be artificial intelligence and so on. In that respect, we envision that there might be digital innovation hubs emerging, focused and very specialized on data spaces, since this is going to be so strategic in Europe. And in that respect, I think joining i4Trust will give an excellent opportunity for these digital innovation hubs to flourish.
Okay, now we have a nice one, Wanko. how much any DIH could have to pay to be part of i4Trust?
Well, to be part of the community, you don't need to pay to join the community. The community is free to join, and indeed, what we expect from you is that you will bring resources. So in that sense, it doesn't come for free, because you are expected to bring those resources of people who will get trained that will also be acting as ambassadors and scouting for experiments. But that is part of the mission of a digital innovation hub. Furthermore, I would say that there are benefits if you join, very tangible benefits. You might be part of these consortiums that apply to the open call and then be one of the beneficiaries within these open calls. That is one first very tangible benefit. But in addition, as I mentioned during the presentation, you would be able to join the existing network of Fiber iHubs or become an iShare implementation partner. And there are, quite interesting activities that may help to sustain your task, your work, and as a DIH. And thanks to that.
Okay, I think we have the last one. Can you tell more about link with the EU and blockchain?
Well, one strong asset of i4Trust is this connection I mentioned with the Connecting Europe Facility program. Connecting Europe Facility program, and I would ask some of my colleagues to put a link to the website as we speak in the chat, is a very important program within the Commission. It's probably the larger program together with Horizon Europe, and is about creating infrastructures across Europe that support digital services. And this is not that much about pure research and so on. Is really about deploying things and in the market. And they have a program which is the CEF Digital Building Blocks program. And within this program, they have identified components that have to be backed by an open source implementation that the European Commission officially recommends organizations to adopt for creating infrastructures, for creating the kind of platforms they need for developing digital services that can be replicated across member states and work cross frontiers. Within these building blocks, there are a number of elements that are adopted within i4Trust, and the context broker is one of them. The eIDAS for identification of organizations and individuals is another one. And there is a third building block, which is the European blockchain service infrastructure that the European Commission is going to deploy. Within Fiber, we are in the next releases going to bring means and components that will support the automated connection of these context broker components we use for data exchange with blockchain infrastructure. That will be rather useful, among other things, to trace the transactions that have taken place regarding data exchange across organizations. And components within Fiber will ensure the ability to integrate with different distributed ledgers, and EPSI, which is this European blockchain service infrastructure coming from the Connecting Europe Facility program, will be one of those blockchain infrastructures that we will enable connection to. There might be the feasibility to connect with other kind of distributed ledgers, and that is one of the possibilities we will enable within i4Trust.
Okay, So I think we don't have any other questions, but as I said, we have another info session on Tuesday, 25. Maybe Angeles, you would like to say something to close?
Let me see if I can move my screen first of all. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I mean, a lot of questions came from the people asking, well, I mean, first of all, we will have more info sessions. The next one is on Thursday, 25 of February, and at 11. And in the next info session, we will talk about the open calls. Okay, most of you are asking about money, so there will be money, but we will discuss on this in the next info session. All these info sessions are recorded, so you can have a look in our YouTube channel. And well, just as a reminder, I would like to ask you all to join the i4Trust community, and we will be there to support you with any question that you may have. Let me see if I can share the link just to finish, because I don't know if I can do this now. The i4Trust community is supported by, no, I cannot, sorry. Maybe someone can put in the chat, okay? So the community is supported by our partners funding box. And yeah, it is the place in which all together will be supporting and answering to your questions, and the place in which you will get the information, okay? So I think that this is everything that I can share now, okay? In our website, you may find also an info email to contact us, and that's it. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your participation.
Yeah, thank you, and see you next Thursday for those that want to join us again. Thank you.